I did it. I dropped $3,522 on a single NFT on the Panini blockchain, my biggest purchase ever. And to be honest, I'm actually thrilled with the price. But here's the thing, without this Panini blockchain challenge where they're giving away 35,000 packs, I don't think this transaction ever happens. Let me explain. So in my last video, I teased potentially making a big NFT purchase, a particular NFT that I've been chasing since its release, the one that I've wanted most on the entire blockchain, but didn't think I'd get the opportunity anytime soon to own it. Well, guess what? I bought it again for $3,522. But here's the thing, the collector who sold it to me lost about $800 in the past 45 days to liquidate it to me to purchase another big NFT, and I'll break that transaction down as well. But here's where things get a little dicey. If you've been watching my recent updates, you know I'm trying to crack the top 100 for this particular challenge. Right now I'm sitting at about $8,000 in total spent. That sounds pretty good, especially considering the last two videos I thought maybe $6,000 in total spend would crack the top 100. Well, guess what? Jean released the updated figures on the Panini Blockchain Discord to see where all the tiers were sitting at. And as of this past Wednesday, the 100th tier was sitting at just under $6,000 already, and there's still 10 days left in this challenge. And just a little disclaimer real fast, based on what Jean said on the Panini Blockchain Discord recently, I'm not going to be going through my personal tiers that I have in previous videos where I sort the Panini Blockchain myself and update those tiers accordingly. If you want to know why, stay tuned till the end of the video. It is a very good reason. All right, let's dive in. For those of you who are just joining us, I'll take 5 seconds to get you caught up to speed. Panini is giving away 35,000 NFT packs on the Panini blockchain to the top 350 collectors when it comes to total spend between the dates of November 1st and December 28th. Only individual NFTs on the secondary market will be counted for this challenge, not packs or primary sales. Now let's talk about my $3,522 purchase. I purchased none other than the Caitlin Clark rookie card Kaboom out of 23. Now, I purchased this for a lot of reasons. First and foremost, this is probably the one NFT I've wanted most in my collection over any other NFT that I've seen since collecting on the Panini blockchain. I knew I wanted to own it. I actually thought it would continue to run away from me at some point. I would just have to hopefully chase it down in the next year or two, depending on whatever the price was. But also, I think, other than me being a big Caitlin Clark collector, I think the WNBA is on the rise. When the Olympics come around in 2028, the WNBA might have their version of the dream team of the early 90s with the NBA. But also, just in terms of the context of how important this NFT is for the Panini blockchain, is probably the most widely circulated story on the Panini blockchain because of Spinatron's purchase of the green Kaboom for $175,000, which is the record spend for a single NFT on the Panini blockchain. And as soon as the challenge popped up, I immediately started tracking this particular NFT because I thought to myself, if I'm going to have a chance to get it anytime soon, now's the time where there's going to be some deals made. And at the time, one had just sold. I think they were always trending around 4,500, 5,000. I thought maybe 4,200 would be the lowest. But then one sold during the challenge for 3,650, something like that, which was the lowest, I think, ever of this particular NFT that it sold for. You don't know if that's just an outlier or what was going on there, if it was part of a package deal, with collectors. So an offer popped up for 3,500 from somebody else. So I started watching that thinking, oh man, if they get it for 3,500, that's a pretty damn good price. In my mind, I was thinking like maybe 4,200. I think it might have been a collector just maybe testing the floor. I didn't see exactly who it was and if they owned one of these particular NFTs, but it lasted for a few days and I was watching it thinking, okay, what's going to happen here? Because I don't think a lot of these would sell for that. So if one did go for 3,500, I may have been out. There might not have been another collector that needed to liquidate a Caitlin Clark rookie card Kaboom. Luckily, it expired and nothing happened. So I said, okay, I'm going to wait a few days and see what happens. Well, more of the Caitlin Clark rookie card Kaboom started to get listed. Now, when I say more, like 2 or 3. So instead of one sitting at 4,500 to 5,000, there were 3 sitting at around 4,500 to 5,000. So I'm like, okay, 4,200 maybe is definitely a possibility, but maybe not. Maybe we can go lower. I don't know. So I kept thinking about it, and a few days went by. No new offers. I think above 2,000 or 2,500 popped up. And so randomly one afternoon, I just thought, because I've been on the other side of the fence too. Sometimes you get an offer and you don't take it. and then a couple days pass after the offer expired, and you think, you know what? I should have taken that. I should have just, grabbed it when the opportunity presented itself. And especially in this challenge, I think that's amplified times 10, times 100. I don't know. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to offer that 3,500 again. I'm going to see if one of those collectors thought to themselves, you know what? I probably should have taken it. And if it's presented to me again, I'm going to take it. And I added a 22 on the end of it because collectors like that. 22, Caitlin Clark's number, kind of cool. So I threw out an offer of 3,522 just to see if that was the case. And as luck may be it, I think that was the case because the transaction went through pretty quickly. They didn't wait for it to run out. I did a 1-day offer, but it only took about an hour or two for my offer to get accepted for $3,522. Now, the interesting thing is when I looked at the transaction history of this particular NFT, because the blockchain's so awesome with transparency, I noticed that the collector that sold it to me purchased this same one just about 45 days ago for $4,300. So in 45 days, they took an $800 hit to sell this particular NFT to me. So then my curiosity starts going wild. I got to see, well, what's going on? So I clicked on the transaction of this particular collector, and what it appeared that they did was they sold 2 other high ticket NFTs, which gave them around $7,500. They took that $7,500 and they purchased a gold Kaboom Luka Doncic for $7,500. So who wins, who loses? It seems like we're both maybe in similar situations because I'm going to go through some of the big NFTs that I did end up selling. Actually, I was debating in my previous videos if I was going to sell some collection or not. I'll go over real quick the few that I did. But I can't knock the collector for taking an $800 hit because maybe that gold Kaboom is something they've been eyeing for a while, just like this Caitlin Clark I've been eyeing for a while, and an opportunity presented itself to buy it for $7,500, whereas maybe in their mind they thought, I can't get that for $8,000, $9,000, maybe $10,000. So taking an $800 hit, remaining in the challenge, getting an NFT you thought maybe you weren't going to be able to afford for another year or two. We might be in the same boat. I don't know. I'll call it a win-win. You out there, let me know. Maybe maybe you think it's a lose-lose. But I thought that was an interesting thing. And again, that's the reason why with this particular challenge is so awesome, because it's presenting these situations where both the collector that sold this to me and myself can reposition their collections and probably get something that they didn't think that they'd be able to get before the end of the year. Now, if you've been watching some of my update videos, you know I've been struggling a lot with the potential of selling some of my current collection, because in my brain, I was collecting for the long term. I was thinking I wasn't going to sell anything I'm collecting until at least 2027. But this challenge, I knew was going to be a challenge. It was going to possibly speed up my timeline, because do I sell some of my NFTs now, or do I just add straight new money and just add to my collection that way? Well, I did end up selling some of my bigger NFTs that I wasn't planning on selling anytime soon, but I actually think I'm glad it kind of put me out of my comfort zone, because I think these particular NFTs were good to sell for the particular price that I got. Let's go over a few of them now and I'll explain. So the first NFT in my collection that I did sell that I did not plan on selling was this Caleb Williams Vertical Kaboom. Sold it for $420. I purchased it about 5 or 6 months ago for $225. This is nothing against Caleb Williams. I really did not want to sell this NFT. The only reason I did sell it is because I got $420. I thought was a pretty good offer for this particular NFT. And I truly feel that I might in the next 6 months have an opportunity to buy it back for even that same price, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. But for the time being, it wasn't an NFT that I thought once I sold it, it would completely run away from me. It might, I don't know. But there's been a collector or two who seem to have been really hot on Caleb Williams during this challenge. I don't know if they're new collectors. I haven't seen them around, or that, it's a current collector that changed their name. But sometimes when that happens, it just takes 1 or 2 collectors to kind of make a particular player or a set hot in that moment. So I thought, you know what, this is a good time to do it. I don't always get offers that strong on Caleb Williams. So I went ahead and sold that. Hopefully I will be able to buy it back at some point, because I do love that NFT. And then LeBron James, his silver 2021 Prism, purchased this for $300. I sold it for $305. So in everything, I might have lost over the past few months like $2 or $3. Again, this is one of those NFTs where I purchased it because of the significance. I'm not necessarily a LeBron James collector, but I purchased it because of significance of the early silvers, prisms on the Panini blockchain. I just want to have one of those in my collection. Want to have those OG cards for, in the future to be able to look back on in a year, 2, 3, 4 years from now. But again, I thought, if I'm going, it's not, I don't have any sentimental value with this particular LeBron James card. Again, I'm not really a big collector of LeBron James in that sense. So I thought, you know what, I could sell it. And then even if I have to buy it back one day for even a little bit more, if that makes sense to me at that time, if for some reason I do want to come back to have one of those pivotal NFTs on the blockchain like this, then I'll do that on a later date. But for now, just to kind of, increase the liquidity because of the Caitlin Clark was such an important NFT to me, I thought, you know what, I'll go ahead and sell that as well. The next one I sold was the Drake May out of 25, the blue shimmer. I sold this for $300. I purchased it for 50. Again, about 5 months ago. I purchased like a lot of Drake Mays from the same collector. I don't know if they were a fire sale or what was going on. But I got the red shimmers at a 50 for like $15 a piece from this one collector. Got this one for 50, and I got the gold shimmer for like 140, something like that. So with this particular parallel, again, $300, I thought at this moment. Now, a year from now, it may be 2, 3x that. But for right now, $300 is pretty good for an out of 25. And like I said, I have a lot of Drake May in my collection. So selling a parallel here or a card there, I don't think necessarily makes me feel like I'm missing out on anything because I actually have a lot of Drake May. So I got $300 for that particular NFT. I don't ever plan on probably purchasing that back unless it drops really low. So I'm okay with letting that one go. And then the last but not least, the Drake May Color Blast. Sold this for $450. So I sold the one of my horizontal kabooms recently for $750. I sold this Drake May for $450. I mean, I'm doing pretty good on Drake May so far. I've sold a few of his for probably almost $2,000. Probably made 4 or 5x on them, and I still have a lot more in my collection. So I'm this was why I think I purchased so much Drake May 6 months ago for an event like this to potentially happen. So I sold this for $450. I think I purchased it for 105 is the exact number. And I overpaid for it. This was one of my first purchases on the blockchain. I did a buy it now. I probably could have gotten it for like 40, but it doesn't matter. It all worked out anyway. So I sold this for 450. So those were my 4 big sales to try to up the liquidity. So it wasn't necessarily paying for the entire Caitlin Clark Kaboom with new money. So real fast before we end this video, because this is probably the last update video I'm going to do before the challenge ends December 28th, let's get into what Jean released on the Panini Blockchain Discord that made me hesitate about posting the numbers that I still personally sort on the Panini Blockchain to find out where I stand in this challenge and where other collectors are, is that they started noticing that certain collectors might have been gaming the system, meaning you purchase an NFT for $100 and then immediately sell it for even at a loss of $90 or $95 just to get that $100 on the books for this particular challenge when it comes to total spend. Since the Panini blockchain is so awesome, it's so transparent, there's so many good things about it, they thought, you know what, that's not going to fly here. You can't do that. That's not in the true spirit of what this challenge is. So if you do things like that, we're not going to include those figures in your total spend. So at this point, you're just wasting your time and losing $5 or $10 because we're not going to let you game the system of this particular challenge. And again, for everything that happens in the physical world, where you don't know what's going on, what's going behind closed doors, what's going on behind closed servers, the Panini blockchain once again shows why it is the best place for collectors to collect sports cards in the world. There's nothing better. So a big shout out to Jean and the entire Panini blockchain team, and a thank you for not only putting on this awesome 35,000 pack giveaway challenge at the end of the year for all the collectors, but also keeping it clean and free from fake transactions. And to everyone who's competing in this challenge, good luck. May the best collectors win. Happy holidays. And even if you're not competing in this challenge, I hope your collections are crushing it right now. If you like this content, please like, please subscribe. And also, if you're in this challenge, please let me know what you've purchased and what you sold. I'll see you next year. Thanks for watching.